Hi, I'm John Green. Welcome to my salon. You certainly have a lot of muscles, sir. This is Mental Floss. So when it comes to measurement, we have a lot of words that mean like a bunch of stuff or a bit of something, but many of those terms have actual specific meanings. And today we're going to learn about a whole barrel full of them. When you're talking about oil, a barrel is exactly 42 gallons. For beer, a barrel is 31.5 gallons. For dry goods, it's 105 quarts. That keg of Natty Light at that party that you didn't get invited to is half a barrel. Then there's the dash, as in just a dash of salt, which according to kitchen supply makers means exactly 1/8 of a teaspoon. Pinch is half a dash, or 1/16 of a teaspoon, while the smidgen is a half of a pinch, a 32nd of a teaspoon. Butter is packaged at 48 pats per pound, which means that each pat is 1/3 of an ounce. This teacup holds exactly 1 drop of tea. How much is a drop? At least to a pharmacist, a drop is exactly 0.05 milliliters, which is really all the tea you need. I can't even pretend to drink from it. We don't measure rain by drops, but in Australia, they used to measure rain by points. A point was about 1/4 of a milliliter, so you might say, we got 100 points of rain last night. That would only be 1 inch, but it sounds like the kind of terrifying storm that the Weather Channel would give like a name to, like Winter Storm Aloysius is upon us. The jiffy, or is it giffy, is a unit of time used in computer engineering that has to do with a computer's clock cycle. It's about 10 milliseconds. It means something even faster in physics, where a jiffy is a unit of measurement for the time it takes for light to travel a distance the size of a nucleus. Physicists also have the shake used to measure nuclear reactions. By the way, that's also the stuff at the bottom of your basket at Long John Silver's. A shake takes 10 nanoseconds, or 10 billionths of a second. For context, I will now disappear for 1,000,000 shakes. And I'm back. We don't know exactly how hogshead came to be the name for a measurement of wine, 63 gallons of it to be exact, and I don't think we want to know. Oh, that reminds me, every time I mention hogs, I have to put a quarter in the staff pork chop picnic jar. If you've got 2 hogsheads, that's called a pipe or a butt. So when someone tells you that they drank a buttload last night, they are either lying or dead. Megadeath is not just the 3rd greatest heavy metal band of all time, it's also a terrifying unit of measurement. Also, Meredith's high school nickname. Megadeath, you can figure it out. Anyway, it was coined in the 50s as a unit of atom bomb destruction. 1 megadeath is equal to 1,000,000 deaths. On the other end of things, we've got the micromort, a unit for measuring the statistical probability of death. 1 micromort is a 1 in a million chance of death, so smoking 1.4 cigarettes or spending an hour in a coal mine increases your risk of death by precisely 1 micromort. Going skydiving? 7 micromorts. Micromorts, the coolest thing and also the only cool thing ever invented by actuaries. So you've heard of horsepower, but did you know there's also a measurable unit of manpower? I mean, just look at me, how could there not be? It was worked out as somewhere between 1/8 and 1/10 of a unit of horsepower. Horsepower was based on the fact that the average brewery horse could lift 330 pounds 100 feet in 1 minute, stop and do it again for 8 hours. And it would take about 8 to 10 men to do the same. So your Camaro might have a 300 horsepower engine, but my Chevy Volt has like a 2,000 manpower engine. We also, of course, measure things using the names of famous people. A Darwin, for instance, is a special ratio for measuring the rate of evolution. Evolution happening at the rate of 1 Darwin would change something by a factor of about 2.7 over 1,000,000 years. A Galileo is a unit of measurement used by geologists to talk about gravitational acceleration, but because there's only about a 7 Galileo difference between the lowest and highest possible measurements on Earth, calculations are usually done in milligalileos. No, Mark, smaller. Smaller? Small? Aw, that's so cute. There's another guy you might have heard of who gave his name to a unit of measurement having to do with your computer mouse. The smallest detectable movement of a computer mouse, somewhere around 1/10 of a millimeter, is called a Mickey. After 500,000 people followed Will Wheaton on Twitter, John Kovalik dubbed that number a Wheaton. Today, the beloved actor and brewmaster, who is twice the size of Jean-Luc Picard, actually has more than 4.5 Wheatons. Speaking of great men with facial hair, a beard second is the average length a man's beard grows in 1 second, but beard growth experts disagree on what that length actually is. Some say it's 10 nanometers, some say it's 5, some say, I can't believe that we're spending our time talking about this. Helen of Troy's magnificent mug is said to have launched 1,000 ships, but what if there's just one ship that needs help getting out of port? Then you need a millihellen, the amount of beauty required to launch a single ship. A few hundred years ago in England, small objects were measured in barleycorns, as in grains of barley. A barleycorn was 1/3 of an inch, and if you needed something smaller than that, you could measure by poppy seeds, defined as either 1/4 or 1/5 of a barleycorn. In fact, grain is the basis of our whole system of terms for measuring weight. A pound was originally defined as the weight of 7,000 grains. That grain was a grain of, you guessed it, barleycorn. And in the rest of Europe, they used the smaller wheat grain for their measurement system, and our systems have been out of sync ever since. They eventually decided to go to the standards-based metric system, but we stuck with the barleycorn. A span isn't just a vague term for how long something is, like a bridge or wings, or the length of time you can pay attention to something. It originally meant a distance of about 9 inches, or the width of a man's hand with the fingers out. That may seem vague to you, but it is literally exactly 9 inches. I am the perfect average person when it comes to hand span. Besides the span, we also have the hand, now mostly used for measuring horse height. It's the width of your hand with the fingers closed. But these days it just means 4 inches no matter how gigantic your hands are. Finger has been used a lot as a unit of measurement, but it's not always clear whether we're talking about the width of the finger, like when your bartender pours you 2 fingers of booze, or the length, which is a cloth measurement. A nail of cloth, which is based on the length of your finger from the nail to the second joint, is half a finger, or 2 1/4 inches. So there you have it. There are about 7 barleycorns in a nail, 2 nails in a finger, 4 fingers on your hand, and 3 hands in a foot. And now let us discuss centipawns. Chess computer programs can evaluate the value of a particular piece or position in terms of 100ths of a pawn, or centipawns. You've heard of the boring old calorie, a unit that measures energy that produces heat. A Big Mac, for instance, has 550 of them. But what about the energy to cool something? That unit of refrigeration is called the frigery, which fell out of use in the 1970s. Since then, we haven't cared how much energy it takes to cool something. We're in favor of it. Also lost to history is the ox-gang, a unit for measuring the area of land approximately equivalent to 15 acres. Or the amount of land that a farmer could plow with an ox. Luckily, we've still got the melodious Olf. Olfs are used for measuring the air quality of indoor spaces like offices. 1 Olf is basically the amount of odor of 1 standard person. So what's a standard person? The Olf standard is a person with a skin area of 1.8 square meters who bathes 0.7 times per day and is seated comfortably in a comfortable temperature. Do a bit of activity and it rises to 5 Olfs. A heavy smoker gives off 25 Olfs while smoking and 6 while not. And Alf, well, his fur traps a lot of odor and he eats cats constantly, so he's like a million Olfs. And now we return to the salon to discuss the shortest unit of musical time, the 64th note, or the hemi-demi-semiquaver. There are even tales of a shorter note, a 128th note, called a quasi-hemi-demi-semiquaver. Thanks for watching Mental Floss, which is made with the help of these nice people. Every week we answer a new question from comments. This week's question comes from Vanilla Twilight 82. Was Coca-Cola really made with cocaine back in the day? Yes, but it was an extremely small amount of cocaine, nothing that could really, do much damage. And there are no time machines, so it doesn't matter. If you have a mind-blowing Meredith! If you have a mind-blowing question that you'd like for us to answer, leave it in comments. Thanks again for watching Mental Floss and DFTBA.